This is usually so much easier when I have Max record and do my videos, but hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, I'm Amber Rose, also known as the Religious Hippie. You can basically follow me on any social media platform, or you can go straight to my website at thereligioushippie.com, where I have economy rosaries, I have prayer journals, I have mugs. You can also sign up for the St. Jude prayer group and get 10% off the St. Jude prayer mug and also the Haters Will Be Prayed For prayer journal. The St. Jude prayer group is a wonderful community of Catholics where we get on Zoom once a week and we pray the rosary and then the litany of St. Jude, and afterwards we have a little bit of community. So definitely consider signing up for that. I am linking it all below in the description. And if you cannot donate financially, please like and subscribe to help us with the algorithm. Thanks a bunch, guys. All right, so today we are talking about a hot button topic, which is how to deal with hate. Now, originally I was going to name this video How to Deal with Hate from Non-Catholics, but honestly, hate comes from all areas, even from Catholics, our brothers and sisters. So this is just going to be a video on how to deal with hate in general as a Catholic. We all get hate. Let's just be honest with that. Whether it's because we're Catholic or not, whether we're on social media, whether it comes from strangers or from siblings or family members, whatever it might be, we've all received hate at some point in our life, and we all know how we respond to hate. Whether we decide to shut down and close inward on ourselves, or we get up in their faces and we get really aggressive, we all deal with hate differently and we all receive hate differently. I usually get hate because I am a young woman. I run my own non-profit that is a Catholic ministry that I did not intend to start, but it became what it is today because of God. And I get a lot of hate for being pro-life, Catholic, and standing up for those values. Now, yes, some people have attacked me for my views and they've called me everything under the sun for being a Catholic or pro-lifer, but then they also tend to attack my appearance or the way that I look, and all of those ad hominem attacks doesn't really help their argument at all, but they're just trying to lash out because they know they lost the argument or they feel bad about themselves in some area in their life. So anyways, yeah, we all get hate, I get a lot of hate, and we all deal with it differently. I want you guys to remember that they will hate us because they hated Jesus first. We are told this in the Beatitudes. We are told this in the literal Bible, that they hated Jesus. We literally crucified him, okay? Now, I'm not saying you're gonna get crucified, but we also shouldn't probably rule that out. But when I am feeling weighed down by the hate that I am receiving, I always remember the Beatitudes. I usually take my favorite Beatitudes and I put them on a sticky note, I put them on my mirror. I try to remember the Beatitudes. And I highly suggest that everyone reads the Beatitudes at least once a week to remind them that this is just a part of being Catholic. We are on the narrow path to heaven. It is not meant to be easy, and we will receive hate from the world, our peers, our friends, our family, and society as a whole. And that's the tea. Something that I cannot stress enough is that you need to know your faith, especially if you're going to be sharing it with others. Not just for fear that you're going to lead them astray, but so that you know how to respond to common misconceptions that people will have about the Catholic Church. Now, I'm not saying you need to know the ins and outs of every encyclical ever written, or that you have to go all the way back and read all of the Vatican II church documents, although it's not a bad idea to do that, to be honest, because a lot of people don't understand what Vatican II is, and there's a lot of misconceptions surrounding that. But anyways, you do not need to be a theologian or a philosophy major, but you do need to know the basics of the sacraments, our faith as a whole, the history, and the misconceptions that people consistently throw at us. I've noticed that we tend to get defensive when we don't know a lot about a topic, or we're not that confident in a topic. If somebody comes at us and says, "You worship Mary," now I'm just kind of like,
well, that's dumb because that's not true, and here's why.
But before, I used to be like, no, we don't. That's not true. It's like, and then I'm like Googling on Catholic answers, like, why don't Catholics worship Mary? So, know your faith. Dive head first. Learn from Catholic Answers, Ascension Presents, Father Ripperger. There's a bunch of resources out there, and I highly suggest you guys compile a bunch that you enjoy and just go through the videos. Father Mike Schmitz is great. If we have confidence in the knowledge we have about the faith, we're going to be less likely to get defensive and start internet fights or resort to those, well, you said this and we don't say that, are you dumb? Kind of, back and forth reactions. Instead, approach it more like, hey, thanks for reaching out. I appreciate, you wanting to learn more. This actually isn't true. Here's some sources, and here's what the Bible says, and here's what Catholics believe, etc. I want to emphasize that there is a difference between defending the faith and getting defensive about the faith. At the end of the day, we should know what is true, and we should not be shaken by the lack of faith in others. When the ministry was new and I really didn't know what I was doing, I had a really, really hard time dealing with all the hate I was receiving, especially on TikTok. I didn't understand it, and it really surprised me how cruel and vulgar and just nasty people could be on the internet. At first, I would fight back and forth with them in the comments. I would be like, no, we don't worship Mary. Like, are you dumb? But then not give any resources or anything because I was too lazy. But then I started getting better at apologetics, and I was able to regurgitate sources and different Bible verses. And then when I would defeat their misconception about the church, they would just go and attack my appearance. And a lot of the times I would lash back with like, oh, I'll be praying for you. And that's obviously not the right approach. We should not be using the words, I will pray for you, as some type of comeback or something negative. But I've seen it so often today that is literally what it's turned into. As my prayer journals say, haters will be prayed for. But it is better to pray for them in silence than it is to tell them to their face, I'm praying for you, and I hope that you get better because you need a lot of prayers, you sinner. The reason we don't want to do this is because the response is never like, oh, yes, I do need prayers. Thank you. And I've done that before too, as like passive aggressive, like, actually I do need those prayers, so thank you so much for doing that. We don't want that either. Don't do that. But it does not help the situation. It escalates the situation. It usually causes more aggression. So always pray and fast for their conversion in private, because at the end of the day, that will help them more than just saying you're gonna pray for them and then don't because it's a diss. You know what I mean? However, these days, when I see hate being spewed my way, I view it as God putting that person in my line of vision because they need prayers. Had they not commented or said those awful things, I never would have known that that person existed or was in need of being prayed for. And yeah, a lot of the times I do delete their comments because some are just very vulgar and some send me emails, DMs, spam my comments, etc. But I have to remember that these people are hurting too. And I sincerely want them to go to heaven as well. And so I will do my part to pray for this person because God put them in my line of vision. Now, this does not mean that you need to tolerate the hate that you are receiving. Feel free to block or restrict people, but also don't be so bitter that you leave them out of your prayers. All right, guys, really quick, I want to tell you about the Little Catholic Box. The Little Catholic Box exists to share the work of talented Catholic artists, religious orders, and small businesses that seek to infuse the culture with our Catholic faith. They are a family-owned business that sends out quarterly subscription boxes filled with beautiful Catholic items. Consider checking them out, and you can use my link in the description for 10% off your order. The Little Catholic Box. Celebrate your faith in everything you do. Okay, guys, so I also want to bring something to your attention that hate for the Catholic Church can begin with these people very young. From a very young age, these misconceptions and hate about the Catholic Church are drilled into them. Whether it's by pastors or parents, grandparents, siblings, teachers, peers, whatever it might be, a lot of these misconceptions start from a very young age. I used to go to a lot of Protestant churches prior to my reversion, and the things that I would hear the pastor say about Catholics, it was like, no wonder they don't like us. It's because of all of the hate that's being spewed from the higher ups. And obviously those people need our prayers too because they're led astray. And like Archbishop Fulton Sheen said, there are not 100 people in the United States who hate the Catholic Church, but there are millions who hate what they wrongly perceive the Catholic Church to be. And that could not be more true. I think it's really important to understand their background and where they're coming from, what their childhood was like, and what their worldview is like. Because if we can understand that, then we can understand a better approach in how to kind of introduce them to Catholicism. A lot of non-Catholics believe that they are doing the right thing by telling us about all the bad things in our religion, about how we worship statues and things like that. To them, that is trying to save us. Now, they don't always go about it the right way, might I add, and obviously they're wrong about their misconceptions. Obviously, because there are misconceptions about the Catholic Church, it's not actually real. Like, we don't worship statues or Mary, we only worship God, we venerate the saints, etc. However, because they're uneducated in Catholicism, they don't know any better. So it's our job to approach these conversations in a loving manner and try to offer as many resources as we can. It's also our job as Catholics to stand up for the faith, especially when it's being ridiculed or there's misconceptions being spewed against it. When it comes to talking to non-Catholics who might have some hostility towards the church, it does need to be a two-way street. Do not throw your pearls to swine. Remember that they need to be just as open to conversation as you are, and you both need to have that mutual understanding that even if you guys don't agree, you will still come and listen to each other. They really do need to be open to knowing about Catholicism and learning about Catholicism for that conversation to be fruitful. And we also have to be careful not to fight fire with fire. So if for some reason it starts getting heated or something, you need to take a break. I have another suggestion, which is win the soul, not the argument. I would get into a ton of internet fights, and I would always win the internet fight because the other person would block me. But then I realized over time that winning the argument was not as important because I was not winning that soul over. And sometimes you gotta play the long game. Sometimes you won't win a soul for over 50 years. I mean, like, look at St. Monica. That took her a really, really long time to get St. Augustine into the faith and her own husband to convert, who was a pagan. Sometimes we do need to play the long game. However, I realized that I was winning these arguments, but I wasn't bringing anyone closer to Christ. Instead, what I did was I actually ended up pushing them farther away because they thought that Catholics were all stuck up and that they weren't willing to listen or hear their side of the story. Instead, it's just spewing things at each other, not actually having a conversation. Now, I will say that some people do need to be rebutted. Some people do need to be put in their place, especially in today's world where all over YouTube, there's so many misconceptions being spewed about the Catholic Church. But we should always approach these situations with sternness and love. We should have a backbone, but we should not stoop to the level of name-calling or ad hominem attacks. If you need to remove yourself from the situation, do so. Our goal should be for open conversation, and it might take a while to do so, especially if you don't have any type of foundation or friendship with that person to begin with. But we should not let our feathers be ruffled by those who are refusing to be open to our side. However, for those who are open to learning about the faith, we will need to meet them where they're at. And sometimes that means going back to the very basics. Also, learn how to pick your battles wisely. This is something that I see so many Catholics forget to do, is that they will spend hours on one person, just going back and forth with no fruitful conversation. You need to pick your battles wisely, and like I said earlier, not throw your pearls to swine. There are plenty of non-Catholics who are out there who want to learn about the faith and are willing to cooperate and to be open to what we have to say. But then there are others who are not. They tend to spam your comments, they'll send you emails, they'll send you DMs, and they say the most vulgar, awful things. These are the type of people you need to love from a distance. It can be difficult removing yourself from these types of situations, especially if it has to do with friends or family members. But we need to remember that fruitful conversations come from two willing participants. You can plant the seed, but you do not need to be subjected to their hate. This next bit of advice is by far the most important advice I will be giving you guys. Ask questions. Listen to their side of the argument and ask them questions like, where did you hear that? Where did you get your information from? Did you get your information from an authentically Catholic website? And if you didn't, why are you going to non-Catholic websites to learn about Catholicism? It's like going to a vegan restaurant and asking for a steak. It's not going to be authentic and real. And my last tip for you guys is to have resources ready. Get a Word document and put in the most common misconceptions you see about the Catholic Church. Put in the resources that you have for them from Catholic Answers or videos. So then that way, if you don't have a ton of time to reply to somebody, you can just instantly whip out the Word document you have and respond, because the research is already there. All you have to do is copy and paste it to that person and be like, hey, I can't respond to all of this right now, but here's a video that will hopefully explain most of it. And then if they come back with other questions, hopefully those questions will be easier to answer because the video or the article would have answered most of the questions for them. Some things that you could write about are like why we don't worship Mary or the saints, the Catholic Mass and its roots, infant baptism, etc. There's so many misconceptions about the church. You really have to figure out which ones you're going to be running into the most and then make rebuttals for those. I'm also going to link below some of my most favorite apologetic books. But with all of that being said, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Comment below what's the most common misconception you've run into, and I'll talk to you guys in the next video. Bye, guys!